Hello, I'm Nico Fitz, and today we're going to be doing Jimmy Rosenberg's solo on Limehouse Blues. If you want to get the tab, I've written out the whole tab, and you can download it at the links below, or you can get my free video on YouTube, which has the tab on screen as well. Check out the links below for that. So in the first episode, we're just going to be doing the first phrase of the solo, and we're going to cover the rest in subsequent episodes. So let's have a look. So the first three chords of Limehouse Blues are C7, then A7, and then down to G. It's in the key of G, but it starts on C7, which is the fourth chord of G. So the progression is 4, 7, C7, then 2, 7, which is A7, and then 1 major. It's in G major. Over the first chord, the 4 bars of C7, Jimmy is playing this. And I'm calling this the E7 Gypsy Jazz Box because it's all centered around this chord. So this is a C7 chord, and it's in the same shape as the E7 chord in the open position down here. Well, if you know your cage system, or you've just been basically learned beginner guitar, you'll know your basic chords down in open position, like this D here and this G here. And you'll probably know this E as well, and this E7. And when you move that up the guitar, the same shape, you get this shape here. So that's C7, the bar chord version of this E7 down here. So that's why I'm calling it the E7 Gypsy Jazz Box. The important thing to observe is that Jimmy is visualizing this C7 shape in his mind when he's playing. And this is a shape he comes back to again and again throughout the solo. And it's a shape that all the Gypsy Jazz greats use as well. So I'm calling it the E7 Gypsy Jazz Box. So basically sliding into this C7 shape here, sliding in from the B on the 7th fret to the C on the 8th fret. So sliding in up the dominant 7 arpeggio, sliding in up the dominant 7 arpeggio. So that's all around that C shape there, that C7 shape, basic kind of bar chord shape that we all probably know. Then when he gets to the top, he goes for a 9 with a hammer on and pull off, down to the flat 9, and then down the dominant 7 arpeggio, ending on the 6. So it's quite a cool thing, but the way he's doing it really is just visualizing this C7 chord. Jimmy returns to this box again and again during this solo over the long dominant 7 sections. Oh, here's another example of the same kind of a phrase around the same kind of shape. So he's going 1, 2. It's a cool phrase. He also plays from the top of the shape as well. So sometimes he starts on the high C. So this example, for example. And it's not just Jimmy Rosenberg, it's all the great Gypsy Jazz players use this kind of box at some point. So one example from Django on Limehouse Blues, going from the C7 to the A7 at the start here. He plays this, 1, 2, 3. Something like that. So Django is playing again around this exact same shape. Again, playing around that shape. So it's a really useful thing to learn. If you learn a bunch of examples, you can play around with it. You can come up with your own ideas. I've put an extra tab on my Patreon with 5 examples of the same kind of phrase, including the 3 that I just played there. So if you're interested, check that out. But for today, we're going to be just looking at the first phrase of Jimmy's solo, which again is this. One thing to notice is that it comes in on the and of 2. So the actual dominant 7, the C7 arpeggio, starts on the 3. So 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. And this is very common in gypsy jazz. So it's one of the reasons it's best to learn phrases as opposed to just straight up arpeggios, because it's very, very common to slide into the root note of an arpeggio in this way. So yeah, so 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. Another reason why it's good to practice phrases as opposed to just arpeggio exercises is that you pick up the style elements, the phrasing, the dynamics, the compositional ideas that are in these phrases. So in this case, Jimmy is well known for playing a lot of notes, so long streams of notes, but he plays them in a very dynamic way. So in practicing this phrase, you can turn it into a dynamics practice, trying to emphasize certain notes. So on the way down of the phrase, so he goes up the phrase, and then on the way down, he does a syncopated pattern that he introduces and repeats throughout the solo in various different ways, including in the next phrase of the solo. But it relies on really being able to emphasize certain notes. So it's not just a stream of equal notes. Some of them have accents. So I suppose the accents are like this. So you're kind of going da 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 da. So that's how I hear anyway the accents and kind of how he plays them on the recording. And it's quite a challenge to, especially because I'm doing alternate picking, it's quite a challenge to be able to accentuate those notes and make it really into a strong syncopated idea as opposed to just a stream of equal notes. So a great phrase to learn, and as we go through the solo in future episodes, we're going to see a lot more examples of the same kind of phrase, variations of the same theme in the E7 box. But the next thing to do is to try and apply the phrase in different situations and on different tunes. The best thing to do is try and find other situations where the same phrase can be used and see if you can fit it in there to the tunes that you play. In this case, though, this is the phrase is over a long passage, a 4-bar passage of C7 from Limehouse Blues. So you'd want to find another tune with long 4-bar passages of dominant chords. And the best one to use, I think, in this case is Sweet Georgia Brown, because it has a lot of long passages, 4 bars of a dominant chord. So we'll have a look at trying to apply the phrase over Sweet Georgia Brown and train ourselves to insert the phrase in the right place. Sweet Georgia Brown starts with E7, then goes down to A7, then goes to D7, and then goes down to G. So on the first 3 chords, the E7, the A7, and the D7, you're going to try and play Jimmy's phrase exactly as he did. And that's the first stage to getting used to inserting the phrase in other tunes. So I'll just show you what that looks like. The first stage in doing this is to insert the phrase exactly as we learned it, exactly as it was played by Jimmy Rosenberg, into the new tune, and to just play it exactly as it is. And what we're really training is trying to find where to get into the chord. So Sweet Georgia Brown starts with an E7, and if we play it in this same shape as we played the Jimmy Rosenberg phrase, we can see that we have to slide in from the 11th fret to the 12th fret on the low E string. And then we're going to be going down to the A. So we're doing the same shape again. And we have to slide in from the 4th fret on the low E string to the 5th fret. So. And then we're going up to D, which is on the 10th fret, and we're sliding in from the 9th fret. So 9th to the 10th fret. And then the final chord is G. So it's E7, A, D, G for Sweet Georgia Brown, the first section. it's partially a hand-eye coordination exercise. So you're trying to eye up the chord that you're going to. So let's say you're going from the E7 to the A7. You're looking at the 5th fret, and you know you have to slide in from the 4th fret to play the lick. And you're just eyeing that up and then doing it with your fingers. So you're trying to learn how to apply the lick in real time and to anticipate what chord you're going to be on. If you get very good at it, then hopefully you'll be able to do it on any dominant chord that you can find by this shape. The next step, I suppose, would be to be more free, be less rigid in using the phrase. So instead of playing it on every chord, play over Sweet Georgia Brown, improvise freely, and then occasionally eye up the chord you're going to and use the phrase there. So that'll make you very fluent with using the phrase in all sorts of situations. Eventually, you'll learn more phrases of the same type. We're going to be covering more throughout this Jimmy solo, and also there's more on my Patreon that I put up there as well. But as you learn more examples, you'll begin to see the way it goes, the different variations that they have, and hopefully you'll be able to improvise without a particular plan, so just in the box. I'll have a go doing that over Georgia Brown now. Another thing you can do is to use the phrase over shorter passages of music. So instead of over a 4-bar phrase, use it over a 2-bar phrase. So just by splitting the phrase in two. So use the going up part as one phrase and the going down part as another phrase. So this is one phrase, and this is another phrase. So you could use this, for example, over All of Me. And the first chord of All of Me is C. The next chord is E7, and the next chord after that is A7. So on the E7, I'm going to show, in this example, the downward version, the downward moving version of the lick, the second half of the Jimmy Rosenberg phrase. And on the A chord, I'm going to use the upward moving part of the first part of the phrase. You'll see what I mean. So basically, I'm going to use half the Jimmy Rosenberg phrase over the E7 of All of Me, and over the A7, I'm going to use the other half. So I'll have a look at how that sounds. So that's it for today, and in future videos I'm going to be looking at the rest of Jimmy's solo, and we're going to be trying to learn as much as we can from it. If you want to download the tab for the whole solo, check out the links below, my PayHip page and my Patreon if you want to get all of my tabs from my channel. So until next time, thanks for watching. See you later.